Hello, I'm Dave Climie. I'm a chartered civil engineer and fellow of the Institution of Civil Engineers, and I've been working in major construction projects around the world for the past 40 years, and I'm looking forward to talking to you today.
How did you get into your current position? I see you're a managing director at DJC Bridge Consultants.
That's right. That's really a fairly recent development. Most of my life I spent working directly for either a contractor or on the client side of major infrastructure projects. And it's only in the last 4 years that I've gone into my own consultancy business, probably because I've now got enough experience to be attractive to clients as a consultant. Whereas before I had to build up that level of experience and contact network over the years. But I suppose going back to the very start, I started off as a summer student with the Cleveland Bridge in the UK. I joined their graduate training scheme and worked with them in total for about 20 years. And they're a major structural steelwork fabricator. And I had the chance to work on many major projects around the world, including 3 of the 5 longest span suspension bridges in the world at the time. And over my period with them, I worked in the UK, Egypt, Denmark, Hong Kong, and China. So it really was quite a worldwide experience, gradually gaining responsibility and expanding my experience in the civil engineering business.
And what would you say is the hardest part of your job?
Managing people. That's what it's all about. And maintaining the enthusiasm in a very diverse team of dedicated, hardworking professionals. And certainly I've found that in this business in particular, you have a lot of people with very strong personalities and strong characters, and that's probably what you need to succeed in this business. I often say to some of my colleagues, you can't be a cardboard cutout in construction. You have to have personality, you have to have opinions, you have to be prepared to express them, and to argue for your point of view. I think that's very important. And I think as part of that, again, the biggest challenge becomes retaining the staff and making sure those people work together as a cohesive team. Because ultimately, in any major civil engineering project, it's all about teamwork. If you just work as a group of individuals or you work in silos, it just doesn't work. It's really all about bringing the team together and making it function, making sure you use everybody's strengths to get the best possible outcome for the project.
And what do you enjoy most?
I think being part of a team, that really is good. And just putting those teams together, I've made some real lifelong friendships with very, very talented people, with the opportunities I've had to work all around the world. And I think what's remarkable in civil engineering is how there are many twists and turns in your career path, and you tend to run into people again and again. And as you build up this network of contacts, there's always someone you can pick up the phone to ask them a question about something, or if you need help on something, or they will do the same thing to you. So I think the fact that you build up, you go through a lot together on a major project, the highs and the lows, the problems, the successes, and you celebrate those together and you grow together. And I think that's the most fundamental, fascinating part of being in this business. It's really not about you as an individual. It's the team that comes together to create these fabulous projects and make them succeed. That really is important.
So you've kind of been in your industry for a long time. Do you think it's become more difficult to get into it today than as opposed to when you first started?
Yeah, and I suppose we should remember it's 40 years ago that I was at that point when I was first starting. And that's something that I often reflect upon, how much things have changed over time. But I think actually it hasn't got harder. I think if anything, the civil engineering world today has a desperate shortage of people, a critical shortage of talent. So I think for anyone who wants to get into the industry, there are many, many openings available and many companies who would really want to snap them up. Because I think there's always been a difficulty in getting the talent in the first place and then retaining it through a career. And I suspect these days that not many people think of the first company they work for as that's going to be the only company they're going to work for. They think of it as part of a stepping stone process. Whereas I think when I joined, I was thinking, right, I'm joining this company, potentially I might be there for the rest of my life. So it's got to be a company that's going to I can grow within and will let me achieve everything I want to do. I think perhaps today it's far more of, you're far more likely to have 6 or 7 different employers over your working career. And therefore it's more about seeing it as stepping stones rather than the sort of first giant step into something you're going to be in for the rest of your life. So I suspect perhaps it's easier now than it was when I first started.
Well, then just going off of that, then do you think the skill set that employers are looking for from their potential hires has changed?
Possibly. I think the fundamentals are pretty much the same. I mean, if you're going to be an engineer, you've got to be numerate. That's clear. You've got to have a good understanding of engineering principles. You've got to have an inquiring mind, the ability to think of alternatives, and to challenge the existing means and methods. Those are really important skill sets, I think, and that has always been the case. So I think you always have that fundamental set of requirements that have always been there. I think it's also extremely important to have strong communication skills, both written and oral, because I think engineering can be a complex subject, but you should be able to explain it clearly and concisely to whoever you're talking to. And I think it's very important to understand that and be able to relate to people in different levels. So whether you're talking to your own bosses or you're talking to members of the community who are close to a project you might be working on, you've got to be able to put across and communicate clearly and effectively and enthusiastically, probably most importantly, about the project, try to understand their points of view, what concerns they might have, and how you can deal with those. So I think communication is very important, but that's the thing that has changed most from when I first started. I think when I started, I was expected to be totally flexible in where I would work, when I would work, what hours I was going to do, and basically if the company said go somewhere, you went somewhere. For example, I mentioned I worked in Egypt, and I think I went to meet with my manager, and he said, "We want you to go to Egypt." I said, "Well, that sounds very interesting. When do you want me to go?" And he said, "Well, can you go next week?" And that was the expectation. If you were given an opportunity, then you would tend to grasp it and go for it. I think perhaps today the pendulum has perhaps swung more towards the requirements of the employee in terms of, and that ties back to what I was talking about earlier with the shortage of people generally. That now really the company is having to sell themselves more to the people that they're trying to recruit rather than the other way around. So it's really supply and demand in action, I suppose. And that pendulum has really swung from one extreme to the other since when I first started.
So you're self-employed, and you're one of 2 founding members of DJC Bridge Consultants.
That's correct, yes.
Oh, yes. That's so interesting. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
So just a question off of that then. How has your work-life balance changed since you became self-employed?
Well, that's a really good question, because that was really quite a fundamental driver in my decision to do it. Because I've been working, as I say, as a contractor or a client up until the end of about 2017, so about 4 years ago. And unfortunately, at that time, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And what I decided was, look, family, I've kind of put them second in my career to date. Now this has happened, and I really want to put my dad first and spend time with him in the time he has left, and not be dashing off to overseas or to meetings or whatever it needs, but let it so it was my choice about when I did that. So at that point, I thought, right, I'm going to set up my own consultancy. That means I can pick and choose what work I do and when I do it, and I can give that priority to my dad. And it's the best decision I ever made, because we had 18 months of really tremendous quality time together, which I think he appreciated, I certainly appreciated, and I just couldn't have done that if I'd still been working full time for an employer at that time, because even though employers can be very understanding and can try to help you as much as they can, it isn't the same as being your own boss and really being able to say, look, next couple of weeks I'm just not available. I need to be doing other things with the family. So really that was the thing that drove me. And then when he passed away 18 months ago, that really, I'd got into the consultancy business at that point, and it was working really well. And this ties back to what I mentioned earlier about the network of people, all the various people who knew me around the world. And I would get emails about, am I available to look at this, or could they talk to me about this issue that they have? And suddenly I thought, yeah, this is sustainable in the long term. But I think the other side of it is I probably couldn't have done it earlier or much earlier, because you have to build up that network and that level of experience, and people know you and what you're capable of doing in order for those phone calls and emails to come. So it's a bit of a dynamic situation, but certainly I'm delighted that I did what I did when I did it, because the work-life balance I've got now is definitely much better than what I had previously. But whether it's practical to be able to have that same work-life balance when you're much younger is questionable. And I think that's something, it's something that people have to think about and weigh up when they're thinking about what they want to do in their career and in life in general.
Do you have any advice for people who are looking to take their careers in sort of a similar direction as yours?
Yeah, I think it's make sure that you're going into something that you enjoy, that you're enthusiastic about. I mean, I still get out of bed every morning wanting to get involved in my work. I've never ever in my career thought, oh my God, I've got to go to work again, because unless you have that, then you're in the wrong career. Either you're working with the wrong people, or you are literally in the wrong line of business. So I think that's really, really important. You've got to have passion and enthusiasm about what you're doing, and have a reasonable idea of how you want to think things to develop in the future. I mean, certainly when I started out, I had no idea that I'd end up working in so many different countries around the world. I knew I wanted to build things. I wanted to make a difference, and leave things for communities that made things better for them. That was something I was quite passionate about and knew I wanted to do. But I never thought I would end up living in China or the USA or Egypt. That just, it all happened as part of things as they developed. So I think you've got to have a flexible approach. And if someone throws something at you that's a bit out of left field, think hard about it. And if you think you can do it, say yes and go and give it a try. Because I've never regretted any of the decisions that I've made in my career. I never think back as what if. Once I've made the decision, that's it. I'll move on and make a success of it. So I think it's really important to not be afraid of these big decisions, even if sometimes it means a bit of upheaval for the family or personal life. Think carefully about it, and if it's going to mean you keep enjoying life and you're really developing yourself as a person, then I think that's really important.